Okay, it is 8:30 p.m. and we're in week 8 of J122, critical skills in written and oral communication and documentation. And you know, I tell students all the time that this course is one of the most hands-on courses that students have, and that if you're going to be in corrections or either a law enforcement officer, this is a course you want to take, because one of the things that you're going to learn is that documentation is very, very, very important. There's no saying that if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And then if you leave out critical things, then you can't bring them in later on at trial. And then the other thing is that there are techniques that are utilized in terms of not only interrogating but questioning individuals, whether they're witnesses or suspects. And so we try to work on those things. So anyway, let's get right into week 8 here. We're kind of in the midst of getting your first draft in. So again, there's my instructor information, reminding you that we have one more lecture, which takes place in week 10, and that will be it for lectures. So now let's take a look at this announcement that I posted earlier last week, actually, a week ago today, and it's about potential tutors. And I encourage students that are eligible and able to become tutors. It's a very good learning experience, and you also get paid. It helps you with your tuition and other expenses that relate to attending school. But it also helps build your resume as well. So you have to satisfy all of these requirements. The first one is at least a 3.0, preferences for 3.5 or higher. Many of my students fit within that area. And so we encourage you to contact Bethany Marston, who's the Learning Center Coordinator for the School of Justice Studies. And you could click on the link for the work study guide, or better yet, you can go to the full link that I have hyperlinked down at the bottom, and it gives you details. So either you or someone you know who might fit that mode. It's a very, you know, if I was a student in school, I would try to find a way to get involved with this, because, again, it helps sharpen your research and written skills. They actually take you through training to deal with Grammarly. They take you through training to deal with the APA. And like I said again, it'll make you a better writer. So anyway, if it's something that you can fit into your schedule, something that fits in, this is for the summer quarter. Every quarter they recruit new people, or if there are people that still continue to fit the criteria, they continue on. So you can take a look at that. So now let's get into our announcement for the week. Okay, 8 steps to writing a police report. Now, I previously provided an article that I sent to each of you at the very beginning of the quarter that gave you some steps in terms of writing a police report. So this is the time when you can use that or refer to that to help you to prepare. There was a mention at the bottom of one of the resources here about a video, but there is no video. But I did provide an article to you. So anyway, your reading assignment is listed here, report and writing, section 1, parts A through O, and section 5, part A. Then read the section writing police reports and the 6 questions. Again, I'm going to spend a little time going over those questions. You know what they are: who, what, when, where, how, and why. And then to kind of whet your appetite, the discussion post this week concerned the why. What was the purpose of a why in the police report? And many of you did pretty well with that. I've commented on a few of them. So the why is important, and we'll talk about that again in a little while. Your initial post was due Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, and your reply post will be due Saturday by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Finally, complete the written assignment, your rough draft, and your police report using the crime on the crime incident. The last few weeks you've been kind of preparing for this. I also, in the last lecture, covered in detail, extensive detail, which Sean, you were present and you know about that. It explains that we're preparing to use that template from week 7, and this is going to be the first time to use it. I had a student that asked me if our report was based on the sample fact pattern given this week. I said, no, it's based on your field notes, which is from your written assignment from week 5. And I kind of laid that out before, but sometimes students still ask that question. Your paper, your project, your draft, and then your final one due in week 10 after I've made my comments. And you know, it's something. Many of my students do so well with the rough draft that I kind of play the devil's advocate in terms of going through and looking and trying to find something wrong even after reading it extensively. But if you follow all the instructions that I gave in week 7 and some of the instructions I'm going to give tonight, your rough draft will be almost the same as your final draft. Anyway, the point of the matter is that you're going to be using that template from week 7. Okay, so now we're coming down the stretch, and we are finishing strong. And you know my motto, adversity is the springboard to success. Let's quickly take a look at our calendar. Okay. And the calendar lays out the things that we've already kind of presented to you already. But your reading assignment, your initial post, lecture, your reply post, and then your loan assignment, the project, the rough draft. Be sure, once again, I put in here, be sure to use the template that is in Module 7. I say that over and over, and then there are still students who still don't do it. But anyway, I give it more than one time and try to make sure that it's very important. But I put it in the calendar there as well. So now let's take a look at our actual module for week 8, steps to writing a police report. Again, finally, what your discussion post was all about, and then the importance of the why question, and then your rough draft. The front sheet, which you'll find in there, and then in your narrative section, which we're going to spend most of the time talking about the who, what, when, where, how, why, and then your conclusion, recommendation, and final disposition. All of these sections should be included in your narrative. That's where the bulk of your grade is going to come in. And this is rough draft week, and then I will then make remarks, and then, as I said, in week 10, you'll be able to provide your final. Make sure you watch your grammar, your spelling, and other writing mechanics as well. Remember, I already talked about that over the whole course. Okay, so now that is something that's very, very, very important. Again, just spend a little bit of time on the narrative. The who. Who are the who? The victims. The suspects, if any. Witnesses. And any relevant behavior. The who. And then the what. The details of the crime that would represent any evidence that potentially would be used at trial, description or communication between you and others that gets to the facts or the truth. Include any quotations from interviews of someone you want to quote them. So that's the what information there. When, the time you arrive and visit, and all of the different things that take place. Make sure that your report is written in the narrative in chronological order. Very, 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 very important. The where, all the locations that are relevant to the crime. The how the offense was committed. What was used? Was it a gun used? Was it a knife used? Did someone break into someone's property? How did they enter? Did they enter through a window? And all those kind of things. Was there broken glass? All those kind of things. Were there doors busted? We want to be able to get a good description of what happened and what you observed. And then finally, the why question. And we already have gone over this. It's the motive. And motives are very valuable because of the fact that it says as far as you can speculate. Well, I generally take the position the motive should come from your total observation of the crime scene and your interviews and all the information that you gather. And a lot of times your motives will come from the victims. And then if you do have a suspect, you might be able to figure that out as well. But remember one thing, your why is not a guess. It is not a guess. And it says, this is at one time you make an intelligent guess. I have to take issue with this because of the fact that I don't think the word guess should be used at all, because then you're getting into some speculation which can possibly come back and really bite you later on in your report when you are called upon to answer that particular question. You want to try to be as, like I said again, as specifically as possible with the why question. And like I said, the best sources for why are the witnesses, such as victims, and that tell you out of the who, the victims, suspects, witnesses, and so forth. Okay. And then you're going to provide a conclusion, a recommendation, a final disposition. Now, and then report on how your visit came to an end. Was there an arrest made? Is the investigation continuing? What recommendations do you make come from that point? If there was no suspect, remember, you eliminate the section in the report on suspects. You don't leave it in there. It's a Word document, and you can take it out of there. You can edit it. But if there is a suspect, and remember, the suspect is not something you're going to make up. The suspect is going to come from the field notes that you gathered from week 5. I had a few students sometimes that try to make up a suspect, and I tell them refrain from that in this exercise. The information that you can put in that I had said earlier that is not material, such as the police agency, your badge, your name, or whatever you want to put in there. But please do not add suspects or victims where there are not any. We're not trying to fill out the sections that don't apply. What we're trying to do is get you to use those facts from week 5 that you use for your field notes. That is why I kept stressing, and I keep saying over and over and over again, that's where you're going to get it, because you're going to get into the habit of that when you are actually in practice operating in law enforcement, or you're going to be an investigator, or you're going to be a detective, or you're going to end up being a person who is a corrections officer. You're going to have to, or probation officer, parole officer, whatever area, you're going to have to do some writing. You're going to have to take notes, and then your notes are going to be used oftentimes to complete your reports. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, those notes are subject to subpoena. And if there's some contradiction in your notes that's in your final report, it's going to make you look bad. So your notes are a guide or an outline to help you to write a cogent, informative report that addresses all of the issues that I've gone over before. Okay, so now, having said that, let's go back to the rest of the stuff that I want to talk about. Lesson content. Okay. We already know the objectives. We already know the assignments. So now, let's talk about writing a police report. And as I've already said, your police report is one of the most critical documents that you're going to prepare in an investigation. And it gives you some points here. It says that the report must be easily understood by other people. People can pick it up and get us an idea of what you observed. It says that most what you write will be used to make judgments and decisions. Yes, because it will also tell what next steps need to take place in the investigation, which direction the investigation is going, and then ultimately it's going to be an exhibit potentially in a court case. So it points out that you'll have to prepare logs, field notes, administrative report, operational reports, memos, policy and procedures, and more. All of these different things are written documents that come about. Probably the one that you'll most commonly be involved with on a regular basis is involved logs and field notes, and then your reports themselves. So as pointed out earlier, your reports will become official court documents in many cases. And if you're dealing with a PSI, what we call a pre-sentence investigation report, that involves probation officers who prepare a report about the background and history of a suspect or an individual who is on trial, who either has been found guilty or either is seeking to, what we do, enter into a plea bargain, traffic citations, and other reports. Those are all the things that some of the ones you'll have to do. And these are some tips that I've already stressed earlier in the quarter, but I'll reiterate them again. Accuracy. Accuracy. Did I say accuracy before? Yep. I'll say it again. Accuracy. Very, 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 very important. One error in a report. I've shared this before, that I actually have won cases when reports were inaccurate. For example, I had a case that an individual claimed that my client committed the offense on April 31st. And he was adamant about it in his report. So was the witness, the victim, and the bottom line is that even if they did try to change it, I would still say this happened on the 31st. Well, the bottom line is that there is no April 31st. There never has been and probably never will be. I learned a poem when I was a kid that I actually used in court, and I actually used it with the jury and in the courtroom in my closing argument to point out the error of that statement. 30 days has September, April You heard me say April, which just passed, June coming up, and November. All the rest have 31 except the month of February. I learned that as a little kid, and it actually tells it. And I rattled it off, and the jurors, many of them were elderly. Yeah, they knew where I was going there. But and so even when the person came back and said, if they tried to say, oh, I meant to write the 30th. So I said, so you made a mistake, right? Well, you already know where that person is now. That person is now wrenching. Even, their credibility is, it's like a boxing match. I didn't knock them out, but I did, boom, I hit a jab and scored points. Yep, deep water that's a good accurate description. And so the point of the matter is that it is important to be accurate. Get the colors of the person was wearing a blue shirt. Well, I laugh about that because I get blues and purples mixed up. And so, I would probably, if I was writing the word, appears to be, I mean, there are light blues I can get, but it appears to be blue, but possibly purple, something like that to cover myself. But if I said it was purple and then it was really blue, then they would say, oh, okay, this guy, But the bottom line is accuracy, guys, accuracy. Get it. It's very, very, very important. Could make or break your case. Brevity. Don't be long with your statements. Give short to the point statements. Imagine that person is reading a short sentence and then moving on to the next. And clarify something. Like I just said a few minutes ago about appears to be blue but could be purple. That's a clarity issue. You want to make sure that you do those points. Those are very, very, very important. Because once it's out there, you can't take them back without looking bad, or as you said accurately, Sean, ended up in deep water. Sometimes that water is so deep and it has sharks in it. They're called defense attorneys. I should know because I was once one of those, as I said. And it was funny because when I was a law enforcement officer, I think I appeared in court several times. And, I always was up to task because I already knew, okay, what was going on there. So, but anyway, yeah, so it's very, very, very important. Record events chronologically. I already said that. It's very important. Think about it. Remember what it is. I'm reading a recitation of an event that you may not have seen yourself, but you got the pieces put together from your questioning of individuals and from the evidence that you gathered. How did you find them? Did you find the bullets first? Did you find the gun first? And those kinds of things. Record the events as they occur. Now, also, you're going to record them, of course, as your witnesses tell you how they occurred as well. Write only the facts, none but the facts. The facts. Somebody once said facts are relative, but here's what I always say that facts are in a police report. Facts are things that relatively fit within the possible crime that has been committed, those kinds of things. And, there are things that people say in jest you can actually put in the report. I'll give you an example. Did you ever see the movie My Cousin Benny? Sean, did you ever see that movie? No, okay. It's a very good movie. It actually is Joe Pesci, and there's some cross-examination questions. Well, here's what happened. When the young men who were charged with the crime of murder in this case, and you have to see the movie to get the full flavor of it, the police officer, the guys thought that they were being arrested or stopped because they inadvertently put a can of tuna or something in their pocket and didn't pay for it. And when they left, they realized, oh, my God, we got the tuna. So the police got them. So when they were being questioned, they thought that they were being questioned about that. So then, as the interrogation continued, the question was, and they had been Mirandized. The question was, the question was posed this way. The police officer said to one of the witnesses, one of the defendants, so when did you shoot the clerk? He says, I shot the clerk? Okay. Well, he really was like, I shot the clerk? I shot the clerk? Well, the police wrote that down. Quote, the defendant said, I shot the clerk. Now, if the defendant said it in a question form, the officer should have put it in question form. But the bottom line, just to have that statement, it's like an admission. So in court, actually, when the officer was reading the report was read, specifically what the young man said. Even the context wasn't right. But anyway, the point of the matter is that the information or facts that came out is that, yes, he did say this, but he didn't really mean it in the sense of an admission. He was like, whoa. And then he kind of finally said later, whoa, I shot the clerk. You know, now if he just said, I didn't shoot nobody, or I didn't shoot a clerk, that would have been a better answer. But anyway, the bottom line is that the report read just what was said. So anyway, that became part of the facts. Well, anyway, the facts are very, very, very important in the report. And as I said before, quotes are really good. Include everything that is important or pertinent to the case. You are a professional. You should be able to know what's important and what's pertinent to the case. People, here's my statement. If you leave out something that is pertinent to the case and it's not in the report, and you want to try to bring it up later, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Because then the question is going to be, is that included in your report? It says no. Well, why didn't you, could you tell me why you didn't put that in your report? Well, no matter what answer you give, you can say, well, you know, I intended to, but I forgot. That makes you look bad. Or either, you know what, I thought it was important at the time, but I got distracted. Whatever. The bottom line is, now you're in deep water again. So the fact of the matter is pertinent to the case. All right. Proof your work. Proof it. Just like you should do with your written assignments. Proof them. I have students sometimes, they submit written assignments, they have lowercase with the word I. And oh, by the way, while you're submitting your reports, don't use the wrong word. Don't use cents. I found 50 cents. And I write S-I-N-C-E. No, C-E-N-T-S. You know, use the correct grammar. It is very important in your reports. But proof it when you read it. I know that I type sometimes, and I'll forget to shift for the letter I. But we already know, that's one of the basic grammatical rules that you learn, is the letter I, whether it's at the beginning, the word I, whether it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end. You know, and don't use the I for somebody's part of their body either. I'm just, you know, oh, professor, you know, it gets kind of, you know, I said, no, trust me, I have seen some stuff like that. And like I said again, a way to break a witness down, if it's a law enforcement officer or a probation officer, or parole officer, whomever it is on the stand, trust me, if it's authored by them and it's got some bad grammar in it, it's gonna come back and bite them. I promise you. So anyway, proof your work before you submit it. Understand and follow the report format. I already have gone over that enough. So all the reports should be detailed and complete. Remember, if there is only one witness, don't put in there your template, take away witness number 1, witness number 2, and actually you don't even have to say witness number 1 if there's one witness. But the bottom line is that victims is usually where you have it, but you have witnesses 1, witnesses 2. Make sure that you have statements that are detailed, but remember those statements are not to be added on to. Remember, it's based on information that you gleaned from your field reports. Very, 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 very important. So now let's go to, and we're going to pretty much close with this. Now here's where a student asked me the question, do they use this sample report narrative and in their report? And the answer is definitely, absolutely, without a doubt, no. This is a sample of what a narrative looks like. Now I'm going to click on it and open it and show you. First of all, number 1, there's nobody in this sample narrative that has anything to do with your field notes. There's no Tommy Adams involved, and you know, there's a whole lot, all this stuff you follow it. But here's what I don't like about this report. I don't like one paragraph. I like to see your narrative, and I've said this before, in separate paragraphs. Now, if you read this, it is chronologically written, but and you can use, you know, you can use the 17, 15 hours if you want to. That's okay. I don't mind. Or you can use the actual, you can use the 24 or either the 12, whichever one. And then, you know, this person explains what happened and so forth. And then they give some of the facts and so forth. But if you want to locate something, it's hard to locate it because it's not in separate paragraphs. So it's hard to follow. And this actually is a short narrative. Your narrative or your reports should be much longer than this. If you have a narrative that is this short in your draft, I'm going to point it out to you. I'm going to say, oh, no, you missed a lot of stuff, and you need to go back and look at that for your final. But anyway, it's just a sample to show you a style. That is all that really is there. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. Okay, and close that tab back. So now that's what that is. That's just a sample. It is not the one that you're going to use. Okay, so now what does a good police report look like? And it says you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this because we already gave you a template. But the key thing is every report on a crime must answer these key questions. This is where we get to the meat of the report. Now remember, I already talked to you about the issues involving chain of custody. I also talked to you about how you gather the evidence and how you tag it professionally and initial it and bag it and those kinds of, you know, and the things that you do. But keep a chain of custody going as well. Okay, great. All right, so that's important too. And I'm not going to talk about that tonight because I already talked about that before. If I was a student that did not really get the grasp of what my lecture was last time, I would go back and listen to it before I submitted my first draft. And because you're going to get points for that, you can lose a lot of points. And if you don't lose that if you don't use that template, you're going to lose a whole bunch of points because that's been like I used to say, you're just beating a dead horse. I'm not beating a dead horse. I'm just saying it because it's important. Yeah, multiple times is right. Because it becomes a part of you, and then you realize what you're supposed to do. But that article that I submitted goes into the narrative. This is the meat of your report. The who, I already kind of talked about that, but your complaint generally is called the victim. Complainant, victims, I mean, it's synonymous, but they put this in here. Witnesses, suspects, remember, if any, if none, I told you what to do. If there are any other agencies involved, such as that arrived on the scene, don't make up any in this report. Do not do that. You would have, if you were actually taking field notes in an actual scenario, which like the scenario we gave you. See, imagine, here's the way that I put it to students. That scenario that was given in week 5 is you arriving at this place. So put yourself in those words, in what's given there. And this is what you observe. And if it doesn't say there were paramedics or anybody else or anybody, don't put it in there. But if it's in there, then you're going to mention that in there, okay? Then the what? The details of the crime. What happened? What evidence do you have to substantiate that? What do you have? And you tag those properly. And again, maintain the integrity. I picked up the gun with my bare hands. Then you should be slapped. I'm just kidding, but you probably will be slapped by your partner, you know, because now you just contaminated the evidence, all right? You know, you basic stuff, you know, use gloves, that's right. But the bottom line, you know, have you ever seen on movies or TV shows where they pick up with a pencil or something to pick it up or something like that? You know, refrain from that kind of stuff, because if it falls off, then it's going to hit the ground and something. You know, anyway, you're going to change what it is, okay? And then it could be a weapon or something that has a live round in it and can go off. So anyway, the bottom line is, yes, put gloves on. And there are a number of reasons for that, so that your prints don't damage the integrity of the item. And also, you know, the other thing is you change the composition of what it is in that form as well. So the details of the crime, with the evidence maintained, what agencies responded, the need for follow-up, those kinds of things. Again, generally you'll have that, but you'll reiterate that again at the end in your conclusion section. When? And oh, by the way, refrain from using that section at the top of your template that says who, what, when, where, how, and what. Don't get that. I don't want that language in there. You're not going to see that in police reports. This is for you. This is your guide, and you should be able to put that in there yourself. All right. The key thing is that you should have information under these categories. Chronologically, guys. Now, when, the date and time of the incident. Now, how are you going to know that if you weren't there? You're going to ask. Yes, what you're going to get from your individuals that are involved, the complainant, the victims, the witnesses, suspects, whoever, from that source, unless you observed it personally now. But the date and time, and when did you contact the victim's witnesses, the time that you arrived, and those kind of things. And then about, I arrived at 2017, and I began questioning John Doe at 2020. But you don't have to I questioned him all the way to 2025. No, you know, just put down what happened. And the key thing is that what we want to know is when you arrived, when you did what you did. You might say, for example, at such a time, I found this item or that item, and so forth. The key thing is you can do that or you don't have to do that. But anyway, that's just something that I always thought about. When was the suspect apprehended? So you can put that in when, and then you'll say, at this time, we don't have a suspect. Oh, I shouldn't have put that in there. Right. You know, if, and that's a question mark, notice. If there is a suspect and you got it, you might have a brief description of the suspect. You might have the name of the suspect. You might have the address of the suspect. Once again, remember, if it ain't in the facts that you got there from given from somewhere, don't just coming out of la-la land with it. Nah, it's not gonna be a good idea, because I'm gonna be comparing. I know right away. I have a photographic memory. I know this particular course. I could sit and teach this course without even looking at anything, just knowing what the module is for that particular week. And when they get to the assignments, I know. Trust me, you could go back and look at some of my old lectures, and you would see that. But anyway, the bottom line is, when was the suspect apprehended? If there was a suspect. Where? Where did it take place? Locality. Where were the victims? Witnesses. Where was the suspect apprehended? Then, as applicable. Again, the key thing is somebody says, oh yeah, but it said where, we have to put where the suspect. We don't have a suspect. Okay, then don't try to make a suspect though. Yeah, but the template has a section for suspect. I already told you what to do about that. All right. How? So we got the who, what, when, where, how. How did this happen? What kind of weapon? Was it? What was it involved? Was it a vehicle stolen? Was it a credit card stolen? Was it a computer stolen? Was it a camera stolen? Was it a cross pen stolen? You might not know what cross pens are anymore. Because back when years ago, that used to be an expensive pen. They're not expensive anymore. Mont Blanc pens are kind of expensive now. Maybe even another one now that I don't know of. I don't know, because I use these things. These are big pens. I know the value of these. They're about 5 cents each. You know, so the point of the matter is that you get to a point you realize what the value of items are, those kind of things. If it's something that is, I should say, maybe it would be a pen like this, but it was used by somebody famous, you know, or either a memento in somebody's family, an heirloom or something like that. The bottom line is that you want to have that kind of information here. How was the crime reported? How was it reported? If there's video cameras present, you're going to, of course, you know, seek to get those individuals to provide information. You want to get their names and so forth and so on, and then seek if you can get their videos, those kind of things. In this scenario here, we don't have any of that. But I'm just telling you, there's so many different things that you're going to be aware of once you get out there. How was it reported? Why? There's the motive. This is the only question where you have to do some guesswork. But it should be based on the facts. Remember I said that earlier. That's why I said that comment that they had, you know, guesswork. This is guesswork, but it has to tie in to the facts. Some information that someone, you know, can tell you. John killed this person. I saw him shoot this person. He shot this person because he thought that this person was messing around with his wife, woman, female, so on. That's a motive. Those kinds of things. Those are important things. But these are things that come from the parties that you will interview. Any questions about any of these? The who, what, when, where, how, and why? Okay. And I guess I've broken it down pretty well so that each student or each person who looks at this takes the time to go through it before they start putting their reports together. they will have fewer errors and higher grades, and that's the key. So that's the way it works. Somebody's calling my house. That's all right. I'm not answering it. Somebody else is answering my house. But anyway, any comments, questions, concerns, Sean? Good, good. So I like to hear. And that's what I try to do. And that's why I said, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy imparting knowledge, but most of all, I enjoy preparing our students that I teach for how to be professional. Thank you. Professional, how to operate on an ethical basis, and to use your education benefits you. And what does that do? That takes our profession in a direction that we need to continue to go. We need to consistently move due north, that is, in the direction where we are learning to apply the techniques to do a good job. I like my people to be well prepared. That's why you have an advantage to have a person who is a person who spent a big part of their career as a defense attorney, now working with law enforcement people, to tell you things to watch out for, and even some minuscule things, like I said, about dates and accuracy, those kind of things. So, all right, well, I'm going to release you, wish you a happy Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy it. But remember, we have assignments are due. The schedule, the campuses are closed, but online is still open. The internet, it's a 24/7 thing. That's where it's supposed to be, unless it's hacked or interrupted or something. So with that, well, happy birthday. You're turning 20. Wow, 20. Man, wow. I was 20 in 1970. So you're a May baby also. Good. I'm a May baby. May 3rd is mine. Wow, 20. Wow. It's a funny thing. Put it in perspective. Let's see. I have 8 kids, and 5 of them are over 20. One's at 18, one's 17, the other is 9. But wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so enjoy your youth. Yeah, well, that's good. No, that's good. That's good. Well, they actually now are recruiting young, highly educated professionals in law enforcement because there's a certain age you get. I think it's 30, even 34, 35. You're not really that old. You can't even start. I mean, if you're in it, you're in it, but you can't start it. But that is so good. I'm happy for you. And like I said again, happy birthday, enjoy, and keep moving in the right direction. I'm sure you are. I've already experienced you. I can say this without hesitation in this forum here, and it's on tape, that you perform well in other courses, at least one other course I can recall, maybe others, but I know you perform well and your work is good. And when you have that kind of a habit, you can carry that on. And, if there's anybody who's hating on it, then get on board. Don't you know? Oh, good. Yeah, why we're impressed with your work is because we appreciate hardworking students. Because you know what that equates to? A hardworking professional. And that, and then, so what I was going to say to you is that feel free to reach out to me even after this class, or even after graduation, or later on in your career, if you need any references, or I will, you know, I don't write false referrals. I write referrals based on students, and I can already say that yours. So appreciate it, and just keep up the outstanding work, and you're a role model for your students, your classmates, and peers. And leadership comes from preparing yourself while you're in an educational environment, so that when you get out into the real world, you'll be well prepared. So with that, good night, and I'm going to end the meeting. You too. Thanks, Sean.